Hello guys, how are you? Hope you're doing well. So welcome back to our daily current affairs. So today you have the 2nd of March 2021, and for that you are having the daily classes for the current affairs. So those students who are preparing for the civil services examination as well as other government competitive examination, you can refer our channel on the YouTube and you can subscribe, right, these current affairs classes. Okay, and you will get the daily current affairs classes on this channel. You can also supplement your the preparation by reading any national newspaper like the Hindu or Indian Express. Both of these newspapers are equally good. You can refer any of these newspapers which are equally good, right? All right, so let's begin with the class. All right, so first is basically St. George Orthodox Church. Okay, this is basically a church which is very old, around 10th of AD. So it is around 10th of AD century. So you can say it's a 10th century old church which is basically located in Kerala. Now, why this church, St. George Church, basically in the news? It is in the news because it faced the demolition from the National Highway widening project, right? The National Highway 66, which passes through this region where this church is located. Okay, because of the widening of the National Highway, this church is also got to be demolished, right? A portion of the church should be demolished. But what happens is, since this church have been involved in the centrally protected monument of the national importance list, which saves this church from being demolished, right? So this have been included in the centrally protected monument of national importance with the Archaeological Survey of India, which has saved this church from being demolished. Okay, so this St. John Orthodox Church is basically very old. It is one of the rarest, churches which is found in India, specifically in the Kerala, which is basically, located in a different architectural pattern with having certain, rare and the beautiful mural paintings on the wall of the church, right? Some people says that this church is basically constructed around 950 AD, right? But the experts, specifically the historian, says that it was built in 1050 AD. Okay, anyway, it is built around 950 to 150, 1050 AD. But again, this church was rebuilt back in 1952. Okay, where certain other, parameters have been added to this church. Okay, now this church consisting of 47 mural paintings as well as other paintings, right, which are depiction of certain important, the god related to the Christianity. For example, it is showing that the Saint Paul with the sword, then the birth of Jesus Christ, then resurrection of Lazarus, the kiss of Judas, the Last Supper, the Christ bearing of cross, the Adams and Eve eating the forbidden fruit, and the Noah Ark. So these are basically have been painted, right, in the form of mural paintings on the wall of the church, right? These paintings basically having the fusion of the Persian and the Kerala's, mural art. So it's a consisting of the fusion or the blending of both of these arts, which draw the, the basically archaeologists from all over the world towards this site. Okay, so you can see that the murals and the paintings which are depicted, which are showing on the wall of the church, okay, in the form of, the depiction of the gods, deities which are relevant to the Christianity. Okay, next, the Press Information Bureau. The Press Information Bureau is basically a government of India's agency. Okay, it is basically a media unit which is working under the Ministry of Information and the Broadcasting, Government of India. Okay, why this Press Information Bureau is in the news? It is in the news because the new principal director general have been appointed. So now the Jaideep Bhatnagar, who have been taken over the charge as the principal director general of the Press Information Bureau. Okay, so Jaideep Bhatnagar have taken over, the charge of principal director general, and that was the reason the PIB is in the news. So it is basically the government of India's media unit, which is working under the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting. Okay, it is basically a nodal agency or the main agency for the public communication, right? For example, if government of India has to say something, has to announce certain important information regarding bills, right, regarding certain other public information, right, to communicate with the people. So the government of India basically communicate through the Press Information Bureau. So it is a nodal agency for the public communication, okay, as well as the media relations for the entire Union Government of India. Okay, so it's based in basically the National Media Center, which is located in Delhi. It was first established in 1999. Okay, it was established as a cell under Ministry of Home Affairs, right, during the time of British, but it was again, reframed, right, as a Press Information Bureau, which is a, government of India's main nodal agency regarding public communication and media relations, right. And in 2019 also it has given additional charge of fact checking unit to the, related to the news related to the government of India. All right, so it is, Press Information Bureau. Next, the Pompeii second. Okay, what is this Pompeii means? The Pompeii basically deals with, it is basically a town specifically in the southern Italy. So Pompeii is a town in the southern Italy. So why it is in news? It is in the news because, certain archaeologists, when they excavated something, okay, they have got, last, very large ceremonial chariot, right? This chariot, which was supposed to be used, right, which was supposed to be used, right, by the Roman empires or by the Roman allies. So these chariots, which was basically used, right, by the Roman allies, have been unearthed, have been excavated by the archaeologists. Apart from that, this chariot consisting of the four wheels, right, it has its iron components, right, and bronze and tin decorations. Mineralized wood remains also found, and the imprints of organic materials was also found. So the Pompeii, which is a town in the southern Italy, have been in the news because of this excavation of the, the very old, the ceremonial chariot, which was once used by, by the Roman allies. So it is likely that the chariot which was used by the Roman Empire, by the Roman elites for as a transportation vehicle, right, for transporting or for sending the important, the elites to various ceremonies. Okay, so this is basically an exceptional discovery in the, specifically in the Roman Empire, with respect to the Roman Empire in the Italy. Okay, it is basically unique in the sense is, right, it is still, in the good state of existence, so it can be survived for the future use also. So here the Pompeii is basically a Roman town in the southern Italy, Campania region, okay, which is located along the Bay of Naples. Okay, this was completely buried by a volcanic ash. There was a volcanic ash incidents related to Mount Vesuvius, which was an active volcano in 79 AD, right? So this region, which was the Pompeii region, which was buried under the volcanic eruption, right, due to the Mount Vesuvius, which was an active volcano around 2000 years ago, and which has led to the destruction of this town, right, which has led to the destruction of this town, and which has got, certain other, artifacts have also been buried under the volcanic ash. Okay, so I was talking about this is a Italy. So I'm talking about this. So this is the Mount Vesuvius, and you know the Pompeii is basically located at the foothills of Mount Vesuvius. Okay. Next, the Swachhita Sarathi Fellowship. Swachhita Sarathi Fellowship. What is that Swachhita Sarathi Fellowship? You must understand, it is the fellowship which was promoted by the government of India. Okay, so it is a fellowship which was launched by the government of India, right, as a part of mission for promoting the Swachh Bharat, right. So it is the office of principal advisor to the government of India, right, under the waste to wealth mission, which was started, right, under this, Swachhita Sarathi Fellowship program was started by the office of principal advisor itself. Okay, the aim of the fellowship is to recognize the work of the students, okay, community workers, self-help groups, and the workers specifically which are working the municipal corporation, municipalities, sanitary workers, right. So to recognize their works regarding the solid waste management, regarding the waste management, specifically to tackling, the challenge related to the waste management, and ultimately scientifically and sustainably disposing this waste. So to recognize their work or their effort specifically in disposing scientifically, managing the waste management specifically in the urban areas. Okay, so waste to wealth mission, which was started by the government of India, it is one of the 9 missions of the Prime Minister's Science, Technology, Innovation Advisory Council. Okay, so under this mission, the Swachhita Sarathi Fellowship was again started. Okay, so 3 categories of the awards have been constituted under this fellowship. So first is category A. So under category A award, it is only applicable to the school going students, which are the school student from 9 to 12 standard. Okay, if these students which are engaged in the waste management specifically as a part of community work, okay, certain fellowships would be provided to those students, okay, which are studying in 9 to 12. Okay, then category B, it is basically for the college going students, right? All 3 sections, for undergraduate, for postgraduate and research students, all 3 are eligible, right, to have this fellowship, right, specifically if they are engaged in the waste management as a part of community work. Okay, in the category C, right, category C, right, are those citizens which are working as a part of the self-help groups, which are working as a part of the member of the community, right, as a part of the municipalities, as a municipal worker, sanitary worker, right? Those people are basically, are involved in this, again, the solid waste management, right, as a part of community work. They will be, their work will be recognized as a part of category C, uh, type of people. So all 3, category A, category B and category C, all 3 will be provided the fellowship under this scheme. Okay, the last date for applying for this fellowship is March 19th 2021. Okay, around 500 fellowships will be provided. So around 500 fellows will be recognized under this fellowship program. Okay, so it is basically the Swachhita Sarathi Fellowship. Who can apply? So those students which are in the class 9 to 12, school students, that means. Okay, then college, university institutions which are studying in those colleges. So all the undergraduates, postgraduates, research students which are working as a part of the solid waste management, right? Then self-help groups, the municipal workers, sanitary workers which are working as a part of, right, as a part of team, right, as a part of, institution which are working also for the solid waste management, they can apply, right? They can apply for the fellowship. Okay, next, Sugamya Bharat app. So Sugamya Bharat app, first of all, is related to the person who are physically disabled or the person which are disabled. Okay, so the Union Minister for the Social Justice and Empowerment have, virtually launched or will virtually launch this app, which is known as Sugamya Bharat app. Okay, it will be useful for those people which are basically, disabled, right? So this app have been developed by the Department of Empowerment of the Persons with the Disability under the Ministry of Social Justice and the Empowerment. Okay, now this Sugamya Bharat app, which is basically, a mobile application. So app is the mobile application which is basically, increases the accessibility. Okay, specifically in the 3 pillars of accessible India campaign, which was already started. Okay, sensitizing and increasing or enhancing the accessibility, specifically building the environment where the persons with the physical disability or persons with the disability can basically sustain, and transportation sector, specifically in the transportation sector, and ICT, information and communication technology ecosystems also, right? So ultimately to build, right, to enhance the accessibility specifically in those sectors which are related to, the environment, transportation and ICT ecosystems, right? So that these persons can easily, take benefit out of this, right? So this app provide the 5 main features, right? 4 of one are directly related to the accessibility of certain, the parameters. The 5th is basically special features which are only for the Divyangjan, that means the person who are physically disabled, and those are who are contracted with the COVID related issues. Okay, so out of 5 features, the 4 are directly related to the accessibility, and the 5th is basically only meant for those Divyangjans or those persons with the disability which are having the COVID related issues. Okay, Now this accessibility related features which are involved in this app is related to, for example, the registration of the complaints of inaccessibility across the three broad pillars of Sugamya Bharat Abhiyan. Okay, so they can put register, right, related to their grievances, complaints related to these broad pillars. Then they will have certain positive feedbacks of the examples, best practices, right, in this app, right, which can basically also to be shared by the people as a Jan Bhagidari Abhiyan. And it will also provide the departmental updates regularly to those users, as well as it will also provide the guidelines, circulars related to the accessibility of this app. Okay, so it is basically the Sugamya Bharat app, which is the user friendly app, which is accessible app, right, which is having the three pillars which will be covered. It will have the robust system, and that will also be involved in the 10 regional languages, right, so that it can be accessible, right, to all people. Okay, next, the mobile train radio communication. So have you seen the air traffic controller? Okay, in the movies like that, there should be a trained traffic control also. So this mobile train radio communication system is a basically is a system that will basically prevent any collisions or mishaps between the trains. Okay, so just like a air traffic control, the MTRC would also work on the similar patterns of air traffic control, which will be managing, right, the trains which are plying on the tracks, so that it can basically safeguard any sort of a chances related to the collisions, right. So it will eliminate any chances of the collisions in between the trains, right. So it will coordinate with the drivers or with the pilots of the trains, as well as with the stations, right, so that any possibility of any collision can be eliminated. So this mobile train radio communication system is basically commissioned in the Western Railway trains in the Mumbai. So it is the first time we are integrating this mobile train radio communication system. Okay, so mobile train radio communication system is an effective and technologically advanced tool. Okay, is a communication tool which is recently been integrated into the Indian railway system, right, which will definitely play a very critical and intrinsic role, right, in preventing the train accidents and reducing the delays through effective communication. All right, so it will basically it's a communication tool, right, which will be communicated, right, or which will be the cooperation in this framework, so that any sort of a delay or the accidents can be minimized, right. The MRTC would act on the similar way, just like air traffic control for the aircrafts. Okay, this system will monitor the movement of the trains, right, would regulate the movement of the train, right, would aid or would assist the pilots in this framework, right, would communicate to the pilots of the trains, right, would communicate to the control room also. So there will be exchange of this communication, and with that framework we will be able to manage those trains. So we will be able to manage the smooth movement of those trains, right, without having any sort of a chances of collisions or delay. Okay, so this is the first time that MTRC is commissioned in Indian Railways. So first time, so it is a historic move for the Indian Railways, where MRTC have been commissioned in the Indian Railways, which is technologically advanced communication tool. Okay, now this new system has been already installed in 90 out of 100 racks, which is basically running between the Church Gate and the Bidar region of the Maharashtra, right. So you can see this will be further integrated and expanded to the remaining sections of the Indian Railway also, specifically out of the Western Railway, where it can be used, right, as a part of effective communication tool, as a part of effective communication between the pilots and between the control room, where it can minimize any sort of a chances of the collision between specifically the trains. So it will be very beneficial for specifically for the train regulation, for the train management, right, specifically in the very congested environment like India, because we have lot of trains which are plying on the tracks. Okay, so it is a schematic diagram for this train management. It's a technical part, no need to bother about it. Okay, next, the National Food Security Act 2013. So this National Food Security Act was first passed in 2013, Okay, at that time was Congress government. Okay, so that was, that was passed in the backdrop of providing the universal food coverage to the people. So around 75% of the people will be covered under the Food Security Act. Okay, now this act was, enforced since then. Now Niti Aayog, which is a principal think tank of the government of India, have recently circulated a discussion paper. Okay, a discussion paper which is basically related to certain revisions in the National Food Security Act 2013. Okay, so this discussion paper is something which is related to the revision of the vital parameters of National Food Security Act. So first of all, as all of you know about the National Food Security Act, the National Food Security Act provides the legal right to the persons which are eligible, right, to get the food entitlement, so these people would be able to receive the food grains, right, based on the subsidized price. Okay, so that is the price, that is 3 rupees per kg for rice. Okay, then 2 rupees per kg wheat, then the coarse grains 1 rupees per kg like jowar and bajra, right? So you will have rice 3 rupees per kg, wheat 2 rupees per kg, and the coarse grains, that is 1 rupees per kg under TPDS, which is known as targeted public distribution system, right? These are also called the central issue prices also. Okay, as it is issued centrally. So the subsidized prices, the people will be eligible, or eligible people or eligible household will be able to purchase these grains on the subsidized prices. Okay, now the under subsection 1 of the section 3 of the act, right, the term eligible household comprises two categories basically. The first is priority household, and the second is the family which are covered under Antyodaya Anna Yojana, right? So now these two categories of the people, or these two categorization of the people under the eligible household, right, is basically something to be understood is that in the priority household, right, categorization, the it is basically, the per person basis. So here the per person, right, or per month 5 kg of the food grains or 5 kg of subsidized food grains will be provided. So it is the 5 kg of the food grains per person per month will be provided to those which are in the priority household, in the category. Then for the Antyodaya Anna Yojana household, right, specifically for AA by, it is for, for per household basis. So 35 kg per month, right, per household it will be provided specifically, right, it will be provided for, for those people. It is based on the 35 per kg, right, per person per month. So it will be provided as a subsidized grain, right, at the same prices to the people which are basically in the Antyodaya Anna Yojana. Okay, next, the Land Port Authority of India. So it is not seaport. First of all, you have to understand it is land ports. Okay, so it is basically located on the land itself. There is no water. So it is located on the land. So it is a land authority. Okay, which comes under the Ministry of Home Affairs. So it is land ports are those sections or those gates, right, which are basically lawfully, have been set up, right, for the exchange of the goods and the services with the neighboring countries. So it will be heavily regulated. Okay, so you have seen the integrated check posts, right, which are also considered as a land ports. Even airports also considered maybe the land ports also. So here the Land Port Authority of India is basically set up by the government of India in 2010 to regulate the land ports. Okay, so it was set up in 2010, right? It was set up in 2010 under Land Ports Authority of India Act 2010, but it was founded in 2012. So since 2012, it has completed its 9 complete years. So it is celebrating its ninth foundation day, right? As its headquarters in New Delhi. So it is a statutory body. Statutory body का मतलब होता है very simple. It is created by the act of the parliament or by the statute. So with that reason, it will be called as a statutory body. Okay, so obviously it is created by the act of the parliament, that is the Land Port Authority of India Act 2010, which was passed by the parliament, and by this it is also known as the statutory body, right? It is the, it comes under the Ministry of Home Affairs, which is a nodal ministry for the Land Port Authority of India. The mandate of the Land Port Authority of India is to create, upgrade, and maintain and manage the border infrastructure in India, because you won't create the land port within, the within India's jurisdiction. Obviously, you will create the land ports at, the international boundary or nearby international boundary with the neighboring countries, where you will be exchanging certain goods and services with the neighboring country. So these land ports, right, basically set up at the border locations. So this Land Port Authority of India is basically responsible for creating, upgrading, maintaining this border infrastructure, specifically in the border areas. Okay, that will have, the various integrated checkposts, right, across the borders, right. So that will have with the neighboring countries. That integrated checkpost will have, different features to manage all such things. Okay. Next, the Chief of Integrated Defense Staff to the Chairman Chiefs of Staff Committee, which is in the short called as the CISC. CISC. So here, why it is in the news? It is in the news because the Vice Admiral Atul Kumar Jain have been recently took over as a Chief of CISC, which is the Chief of Integrated Defense Staff to the Chairman's Chief of the Staff Committee on 2nd March 2021. Okay. Now, this CISC have got recently the new head, which is the Vice Admiral Atul Kumar Jain. Okay. So Chief of Integrated Defense Staff to the Chairman Chiefs of the Staff Committee is basically the head of Integrated Defense Staff, right, under Ministry of Defense, which acted as a pivotal point, or which acted as a point of organization for the joint penship or in the Ministry of Defense as a main point of coordination. Okay. So this CISC is basically consisting of the 3-star rank officer from the 3 services in the rotation. So it will have the 3 services in the rotation. Okay. 3 services means you have the Air Force, you have the Army and Navy. Okay. The CISC directly reports, right, to the Chairman of Chief of the Staff Committee, right, which is also known as COSC in Delhi. Okay. And the CISC also assisted by the following 5 principal staff officers, right. All these officers basically are 3-star appointments or 3-star generals, okay, who are headed by the various branches within this, within this IDS. Okay. So he is basically the person who is also known as the Vice Admiral Atul Kumar Jain. Okay. Then the Farmers Producers Organization, which is also known as FPO. What is FPO? So this Farmers Producers Organization is basically consisting of, on the cooperation basis, right? They are cooperative, right? And they are basically mainly consisting of the farmers, which are basically coming together, right? As to form a cooperation, as it formed to form an organization, which is known as the Farmers Producers Organization. Okay. So that they can get the benefit out of this association, out of this organization. So here the Union Minister of Agriculture has celebrated the 1st anniversary of the Central Sector Scheme, which was launched by the Government of India, specifically by the Ministry of the Agriculture, which is the Central Sector Scheme, which is known as the formation and the promotion of 10,000 Farmers Producer Organization. Obviously, the one important aspect of the formation of such 10,000 Farmers Producer Organization is to increase the, the food processing, aspect, as well as to increase the production, as well as to increase the return to the farmers, right, to ultimately to increase the income of the farmers. So for that purpose, right, the 10,000 Farmers Producers Organization have been promoted, have been formed with the help of the Ministry of the Agriculture, right. So it has completed its 1st anniversary since its inception in 2020. Okay. So this scheme was launched by the Prime Minister on 29th of February 2020. So it has completed its 1st year. This scheme was launched at Chitrakoot in the Uttar Pradesh, right. It has the budgetary allocation of around 6,865 crore. Okay. So obviously the Farmers Producers Organization would work in such a way that it makes the farming more viable, okay, more economic, more remunerative, okay, by aggregating the land. It will be beneficial for the farmers also, which are involved in this, the farmers producers organization. So here more than 2200 farmers producers organization production clusters have been allocated by the Ministry of Agriculture, right, for the formation of the farmers producer organization, right. This year, you say in the current year, 100 farmers producer organization specifically are meant for the specialized organic produce. 100 farmers producer organization is basically to form the oil seeds. Then 50, farmers producers organization for the community specific, right, and which are basically related to the value chain development, which are basically essential. So you can understand that these farmers producers organization are basically meant for, the growing of certain, certain, produce, for example, for the organic produce, for oil seed, right, for other, other commodities, for other value, added products, for processing, right. All such things will be, beneficial for the farmers, as well as effectively the agricultural return also will be increased. Okay. The implementing agencies related to these farmers producers organizations are basically cluster based business organizations. These cluster based business organizations, which are set up under, by the Ministry of Agriculture to aggregate, right, to aggregate, to support, to register, and to provide the, some sort of a professional handholding support to every, this farmers produce organization for the period of 5 years. So the implementing agencies are basically the cluster based, the business organizations which are engaged by these implementing agencies, which will be providing the professional support to those farmers producers organization for the period of 5 years. Okay. So this cluster based business organizations, right, will have a platform where the knowledge will be shared, right, which will be, the knowledge will be related to all issues which comes to the related to the farming. Okay. That will be help in the development of the farmers producer organization, as well as their promotional aspect. Okay. The farmers producer organizations would be provided the financial assistance up to 18 lakh rupees per farmers producers organization. Okay. So 18 lakh rupees will be provided as a financial assistance, right, for the period of 3 years. All right. So that's all for the today. Okay. We will meet again tomorrow for our next current affairs. Okay. So thank you for attending this class. We will meet again tomorrow for our next current affairs. Thank you.